Hello, my name is Luis, and I'm an instructional designer in the Center for Teaching and Learning and Technology at Cal Poly. Today I'm going to be talking to you about using the Rubric and Marking Guide in PolyLearn. PolyLearn is Cal Poly's version of Moodle, and we're using Moodle 2.3 right now. I was really pleased when I went to the Moodle Moot conference this year to see them talking about using this tool. It was just introduced in the new version of PolyLearn, or Moodle, should I say. In case you're wondering what Moodle Moot is, it's a conference where Moodlers all over the world get together and talk about effective ways of using the Moodle learning management system. And so we learn a lot from each other. They were showing these tools, and I thought, great, we need to implement this version of Moodle, because we have a lot of instructors at Cal Poly who use rubrics, and I don't know how many use marking guides, but I know a lot that use rubrics. And I think it's always important from a pedagogical point of view to give your students a rubric when you give an assignment that has a lot of components, so that they will know what kind of guidelines that you're laying out there for them in terms of specific things you want in the assignment and what you value. So this tool makes this so easy in Moodle and really makes your grading task a lot easier as well. So first of all, let's talk about the similarities between the rubric and the marking guide. Both of them can be used with the assignment or the workshop tools in Moodle. You can't just randomly put in a rubric wherever you want. You must attach it to an assignment or to a workshop. Both really help define the task for the students that you're asking them to do, and it makes grading a lot easier to do, and that speeds up the grading time, and I know that all instructors are for something that helps them with that. Both of these tools can be displayed or not, depending on your preference, for student review before the assignment submission. Now, I've always thought that is an important key to using a rubric, is showing it to your students ahead of time so they understand the criteria by which they will be evaluated. But you could turn that off if you don't want them to see it and just use it for your own grading needs. Both of these tools allow for feedback on individual criterion. So each one of your criterion, you can tell them exactly what you thought of how they did, but it also allows you on both these tools to give feedback on the assignment overall. So there is a little box at the bottom of the rubric that a student can see in which you can type in your feedback about how well they did on the assignment. Let's go into a Moodle course and just look at what the student will see when you reveal to them the rubric. So we have a course here, and I'm giving the student an assignment on a symphony orchestra report. So you can see here that there are instructions for what the students are supposed to do, and when they click on the link to the assignment, it changes things in their navigation area over here. So now they see the assignment over here, and they see a link that says Submissions Grading. When they click on that link, it takes them in to see the rubric. So here's the rubric for the students. Over on the left, as is typical of most rubrics, are the criteria that they're being graded upon. These boxes to the right here are listing the levels. So obviously an excellent fulfillment of this criterion would be 4 points, sort of good 3 points, poor 2 points, and very poor 1 point. So it goes across like this. So students can just go see before they do the assignment what you value. I want clear concert information. I want a description of the pieces performed. I want to see how well they use the musical vocabulary they've been learning. I want them to evaluate the performance of the symphony. I want them to reflect on their personal experience at the concert. The format of the paper according to designations I have made in the syllabus, and grammar, punctuation, and spelling. They're being graded on all those areas. Now, here's an example of the marking guide. The marking guide's pretty clear-cut. It just shows them what they're being graded on. It doesn't show them individual levels of value. It just says that they're being graded on their grasp of musical terms, the paper format, the grammar and spelling, the description of the repertoire, the performance evaluation, and the reflection on their experience. So those are what the students see before they start to submit the assignment in Moodle. So what is the difference between the rubric and the marking guide? At first I had a hard time putting my head around that because I hadn't seen any examples, and people were just talking about the rubric and the marking guide, and I was like, I don't get the difference. So let's talk about that just a little bit. The rubric explains the individual criteria that the students will be graded upon, with detailed explanations of what makes a particular criterion excellent, good, poor, etc., and the point values for each, and you saw that in the example there. When grading it, the instructor selects the level of criteria the student met, and then points are automatically assigned and totaled. And Moodle has this great grade calculator that helps you with that. You may only have a total of maybe 25 points in a small rubric or something, and you might be offering, 50 points or 75 points or something for the assignment. Moodle will take the values of the rubric that they've completed and then total it with their grade calculator to fit the number of points in terms of percentage that you allowed for. Now the marking guide is just setting up general criteria like you saw when you saw the portion that the students can look at, where there's categories. And so it shows the categories the students will be graded on, like spelling, grammar, punctuation, format, content, etc. And the instructor assigns point values for each, and you can write original comments for their feedback, either on the individual criterion, or they can choose from pre-devised frequently used comments that they save ahead of time. And I think this is one of the really wonderful factors of the marking guide. But first, let us look at the rubric from a teacher's point of view when they're in the gradebook. You can see right here we have an individual student who we're going to grade, and we're in the gradebook, and so I can clearly see the criteria with the levels, and when I put my mouse over these levels, it lights up. If I'm going to choose one, I just click on it like I did there, and then that's the accepted point value I'm giving that student. If I want to, I can make a comment in the comment box, the feedback box right here, or I can leave it blank. So you can go through pretty quickly and give them some feedback and have the points added up. When I'm done with that, I can go and write feedback for them down here in the bottom feedback box. So overall for the paper, what I thought about the paper. And if I want, I can use all the tools that you can normally use in these boxes, changing the font size, color, the whole thing. And I could keep writing there. Then you can send a notification if you wish, which lets the student know that it has been graded and they can see it. And of course you need to save the changes. Let's look at the marking guide. This is the marking guide for the same student. So you can see the criteria that was listed there that student saw before, just kind of very general criteria with no levels. I can type in feedback and I could choose a score. So I had set this up for that particular criterion to be worth 5 points. So I'm going to give her a 5 out of 5 for that, and just go on down and keep giving comments if you want, and establishing a number. However, like I said before, the great part of the marking guide is that you can set up some frequently used comments down here. Ones that you would normally have to type, or if you were using Word, you might use a macro to put them into a student's report. So I have actually given a good comment and bad comment for each one for myself here to pick. So for example, let's say I didn't think they did very well on the grammar and the spelling. I just click in the box for the feedback there, and then I go down and I find the comment I want about that. There we go. Not the plus button, but just pressing on the actual comment. So here I'm saying to the student, in terms of their grammar and spelling and punctuation, what was that? Have you been texting too much lately? I'm a bit alarmed for your disregard of grammar, spelling, and punctuation. Let's return to the fundamentals, shall we? So, I might give a positive comment about something else. So this was a jazz performance. Click in the box, and it sounded like they enjoyed the performance, and they're kind of learning the key elements of the terms. So I put in that little comment, and I gave that 10 points. So forgot to give points here. This is going to get like a 2 out of 5. I'm very picky about grammar and punctuation. Okay. You can also see here that you can turn on whether the marker criterion, which is the criterion you give for the people who are grading these, is hidden to the student or shown. So we're hiding it there and showing only the student criterion descriptions. What is cool about this, you can also add a file to either the rubric or the marking guide by just dragging in a file here. So you may drag back in the work with also comments you made with track changes or something like that. Always be sure to save the changes on any of these pages. I'm not going to right now because I don't want to save what I've done, but you normally would do that. One thing that you'll want to do when you're making the rubric or the marking guide is to be sure you give your students instructions, obviously of what you want in the assignment, but also instructions about how to get to the marking guide or the rubric in PolyLearn. Because some of them may never have had this used in class at Cal Poly yet, so they may not know how to use it. So these instructions are an example. This assignment includes a rubric or marking guide to help you understand the necessary components of and the level of quality required to achieve excellence. It is best that you review the rubric or the marking guide before working on your assignment. And then I tell them how to do that. To view the rubric marking guide, click on the link to the assignment on the main course page, look for the name of the assignment in the left navigation box, and click on the submission grading link. You can review the rubric or the marking guide first, and then work on your assignment with those criteria in mind, and then submit your assignment later for evaluation. So students kind of need to know that they can look at it, but it doesn't mean they have to submit at that moment, because sometimes they're worried about that if they looked at it, then it will ask for submission. Since it does say submission grading on that link, it should have said submission guidelines or something like that, I think, but that's something that the Moodle people program, so can't really be changed right now.